And we're live. Welcome, everyone, to Everything is Attitude. Welcome, Rosemary. I'll let you do the introductions because these are your longtime friends. So I'll
But
turn it over.
you usually do the introductions to the to the to the everything is attitude
Yep,
thing.
yep,
Shall I just do what I do then? Shall I just start
sure.
talking, and
Go
I'll
for it.
ignore
Yes.
you completely then, shall I? All right. So thank you, Al, and welcome to you. Welcome everybody out there who's watching. I'm Rosemary Altea. I'm here with my co-host Al Pisano, and we have two beautiful guests. We have Kay in the pink. Is it pink? And we have
Salmon.
Jessica. And we have Jessica, who is not in the pink or the salmon or whatever it is you want to call it. And just for everybody's info out there, I've known Kay. She's probably my oldest and dearest and closest friend. How long have we known each other? Scary when we think about it. I knew you before Jessica was born.
Yeah, 1982 I first met you.
Right, so that's 40 years ago. Or 38 or
38.
it is anyway. Whatever.
Wow. Wow.
It doesn't matter, does it really? Anyway, so I've known these guys a long time. Kay has three beautiful daughters. Jessica's just one of them. And Chloe and Anna will hope to get on the show at some point in the future. And the girls, so everybody sort of can maybe follow along with what we're doing tonight. Kay was a student of mine for many, many years. She is a fully fledged, fully qualified healer. Helped me to run the Rosemary Altea Association of Healers, which we had both in England and in the States for a long, long time. Almost 30 years, I think, we were together with that. And so Jessica, I've known since before Kay even knew that she was around. I can remember Kay coming to see me one day, and as she was leaving, I can even remember what you were wearing, Kay. You were wearing a pair of dungarees.
Yes.
And I looked at her. She was saying goodbye. I opened the door. She was on the way out of the door, and I just looked at her and I said, "Are you pregnant?" And she squealed and said, "Don't say that. Don't say that," as if by saying it would alter the facts. Anyway, 9 months later, along came Jessica. So I saw you before everybody else did, Jess, so I feel very special about that.
Thank you.
And Kay has worked with me for a number of years, and the girls have grown up with me around them, and I consider myself almost like a second mother or a surrogate mother.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jess, you'd agree with that, but I'm just
I'm
saying this so that if you decide to mention anything about me or our past or things that we did previously or what have you, everybody out there is going to know that we do in fact have a long history.
A lifetime of history.
So Jessica, we're here for you tonight. So I'm going to over to you. Al, feel free to chip in anytime you like. I know you're listening very closely to what's going on here. So Jessica, we're live on Everything is Attitude. People can actually, I think I'll make comments or type in comments, and we always love to have those. So anybody who wants to make comments during the show or as we're winding up, feel free to just type in your questions or your comments, what have you. Jessica, why don't you begin now and tell us how did you, apart from the fact that I might have twisted your arm up your back, I hope it didn't force you into it, but why are you here? Would you like to tell us a little bit about your story, and then perhaps tell us about the issue that you'd like to address with us?
So you haven't twisted my arm. It's a pleasure to come on. It's not my natural comfort zone to do this sort of thing, but I was intrigued, and I know that I will benefit from talking about this and getting other people's opinions. So I would like to talk about fixing people, fixing situations, mainly in relationships, whether that be a partner or a friendship or a family member. In my case, it was a partner. I am a peacemaker soul, and a part of my character is a need to be needed. I love to be needed, and a part of that has meant that I have gone into relationships and tried to fix people, seen a problem and thought, I can sort that out. I'm going to make this work, I can sort it out, and everything's going to be fine. I've had the end goal in mind and thought that the partner did as well, and thought this doesn't need to be a problem, I'm going to fix it, and have allowed that need to fix take my focus away from the relationship itself and take my focus away from a relationship that wasn't healthy. So my thoughts since coming out of that relationship 6 months ago have been moving forward and looking to being in a healthy relationship. How do I stay true to myself and still enjoy being needed by my partner, but not let that characteristic of mine become destructive, which it has done in the past. So it's quite a big subject, really, but it's very close to my heart because I've been in 2 main relationships that have covered 7 years of my life, and this has been quite a problem. And I'd like to move forward with my life knowing that I can be true to myself without it being detrimental to me.
The two, you say you've had 2 relationships and you're only a young woman, so 7 years is a long time to be, it's a big part of your life. Kay, would you say that I know how close you are with your girls, and I know they tell you almost everything. They tell me everything. They tell you almost everything.
This is true.
They tell me everything because
This
it's
is
probably
true.
anyway. I was actually stirring the pot a bit. Kay, would you say that the 2 relationships that Chloe's been in,
Jessica.
Sorry, Jessica. Sorry, getting the girls mixed up.
Go on.
Would you say the 2 relationships that Jess has been in were similar, similar problems, similar issues?
Yes, I think the first relationship, they were obviously both younger, and they were both immature in their approach, emotionally immature and quite selfish as I look back and think about it.
I'd agree.
You'd agree, good. So yes, they were quite similar. I hadn't actually thought of that before, but they were. You weren't the only common denominator there.
No, but it makes me think: am I drawn to people that are similar, that are needy and probably not very good for me?
Not very emotionally mature. Neither of them were emotionally mature.
What do you have any comment at this point?
Yeah, I was wondering how what your expectations were going in as far as what you needed to fix, and then what was the end result for each of those instances. So what did you think you could fix in the beginning, and then at the end, did you fix anything? What do you feel like happened during that time?
Well, the most recent relationship.
Yes, let's talk about that one.
Yeah. I saw signs early on that the way he chose to live his life was not a way that I wanted to, but my expectation was that he didn't really want to live that way, and he actually would much rather live by higher standards and by the standards that I live by. So I presumed that that's not really who he is, that he would rather be living a different life with me, because he told me that. He told me it, but his actions didn't say that.
So he basically told you what you wanted to hear.
You wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And you wanted to believe him.
Yes. Because I so want that family unit.
And you also, you say that you saw it early on.
Yeah.
But you were so sure that with love and care and patience, you could fix this person.
Yeah, absolutely, no doubt. This is not a problem. I'll fix this. I'll be enough of a reason for him to want to change. So I'll fix it. We'll fix it.
And I don't think you were being arrogant.
No.
When you said that, were you? I think,
did that come across as really arrogant?
No, you don't. You don't come across as being really arrogant, but I'm saying for anybody out there listening who might perceive you, I mean, I know you better, who might perceive that when, not just you, but I've been in the exact same situation in a relationship with an alcoholic and an absolute liar, actually. But I think that alcohol often, when someone is an alcoholic, I think the lies go along with that as well, don't they?
Yeah,
definitely.
But, look, I'm the person who has the healing organization. I'm the person who's trained to fix people. I'm the person who people come to for advice from all over the world. How can I not possibly be able to, fix this person? So yeah. I have been in your situation, and it isn't that you're being arrogant. You just trust in your own love and your own, ability to respect and to care and to love someone. That we just make those assumptions that. I can fix it. I can fix it. Give me time, and I can fix it.
Yeah.
Rosemary, I didn't think that she was being arrogant. I thought it was like you were saying, more nurturing. But I think some would say, "Well, who do you think you are that you think you could fix somebody?" So I think there are those people out there that might have that kind of attitude. I don't think it was the case. Like Rosemary, I don't think it was the case with you, Jess.
It wasn't the case, but I was told that I was being condescending, and I can see how that
Who told you that?
He did.
Okay. And perhaps you were being towards the end.
Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah, probably. Not at first, because I thought we were both on the same page. But through frustration, I think, and my absolute desire to hold on to this and to fix it and to make it work, despite all the signs that it wasn't right, that end goal in mind, that determination and blindness, really.
And loyalty.
Work. Yeah, and loyalty. And, I just went for it. And I know that there were times at the end where I'd lost respect and I was condescending.
You say you lost respect. From whom did you lose respect?
I lost respect for him.
You lost respect for him. I was going to say, because he obviously never respected you.
No.
You understand that?
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm asking, it's a question.
No, it's true. It's true. To lie to somebody that you're telling that you love, but to lie continuously, how can you have respect for that person?
Well, you don't obviously respect that person, do you? That's the point.
And yet I still tried to fix it.
So you're to your
detriment.
To my detriment, yeah.
So your concern, your question, I think here then is, and please tell me if you think I've got it wrong. your question is about how can you be yourself, not lose who you are, that wonderful nurturing person, but at the same time safeguard yourself from the next one and the next one who will definitely who, if you, it's, we were talking last week, Al, if you remember, about addiction, and we were talking about behavior as being, we have addictive behavior. So we're looking at a little bit of addictive behavior. I think you're worried, or concerned at least, that you're nervous that behavior is going to continue with you. So your question is, I think, how can you prevent yourself from behaving as you do in a hopeless situation, because it was hopeless from the beginning. In retrospect, we see it's hopeless from the beginning. It's sort of,
No, I have acknowledged that. But it's a hard thing to accept, 3 years of your life that you really knew from the start that it wasn't quite right.
Why do you think it is that you, aside from being a nurturing and caring person, I just want to point out to people that Jessica is in her final couple of months, 3 months of your nursing degree, right? And prior to doing that, every situation you've been involved in has been about caring for the aged, caring for, I mean, you've just, that is your nurturing self. That's who you are, right? Why is it, though, aside from that nurturing, why do you think that you are so, on a subconscious level, perhaps, focused on the need to be needed?
Rosemary, could I add too? And I was thinking the same kind of thing. If Jess, maybe you could say what you go through when you see that quality, or when you start a relationship like that. What's your mindset that makes you say, yes, this is what I want to be, or I'm attracted to, and this is why I want to pursue this relationship? If that's not too much to answer.
What is it?
Like, what would you like? What is the process like? What, towards what Rosemary was saying, like beyond that nurturing piece of you, like what makes you get involved in a relationship, knowing that that the neediness is part of why you're getting involved, but what makes you get into it? Like, what's kind of making your mind?
What is the driving force?
What is the driving
force you to go into that relationship, even knowing you shouldn't?
Yes, thank you, Rosemary.
Looking back on them, the relationships, I have been drawn to certain people who are gregarious and interesting and friendly and loving, and I'm drawn to that, and big personality. And then I know that I'm good at looking after people, so I focus on my strengths. And so perhaps because I know I'm good at something, I look for the counterpart of that. So I'm good at looking after somebody, so I look for somebody that needs to be looked after.
So I think perhaps on a subconscious level you maybe do that, right?
It would make sense.
Sorry?
That would make sense.
Yeah. Now, Kay, if I can ask you this, because from a, because, we don't ever really see ourselves as clearly as our loved ones can see. Sometimes, they can see the things that we don't see. What do you think? Can you pinpoint a moment or a time or a situation even as Jessica was growing up, or, developing as a young woman, where that, aside from the need to nurture, because that's innate in her, that's built into her, she's a peacemaker. We know that that's part of a peacemaker's energy and makeup. And anybody who wants to know what a peacemaker is, you've got to buy soul signs and take it and have a good look at that. Soul Science is a great book, isn't it?
Best you'll ever have.
Okay, so thank you. Aside from that, Kay, can you pinpoint?
Yeah, I think Jessica has always been a calming influence in a family of big personalities. And she's a big personality herself, but she's a calming, caring, quieter personality within the family of 4 women, and
4 fire signs.
Yeah, 4 fire signs and 3 fire signs. Yeah, but before the divorce, we had a divorce when Jessica was quite young, and I think that was possibly a turning point when I look at it. We don't need to dig too deeply because we're not going to get morose, but she has a very good relationship with her father. We all get on well. There's no wrinkles there necessarily, but that's taken work over the years and some calm, steady thought over the years, hasn't it? And I think really a lot of what has been set in motion through these relationships started way back, possibly through the divorce and after the divorce. I'm not sort of going to shoulder all the blame for that in any way, but the consequences and repercussions, if you like, of things that are disrupted at a young age, 9, 10 is a very it's a hard time for a child to deal with stuff like that. And maybe I think possibly she had to really strive very hard, and she became quite a strong-minded, stubborn person as she grew older, just battling against these 3 strong women in the family because we were pretty close.
Well, I wouldn't call it a battle.
Do you know what I'm saying there? I don't mean battle, that's the wrong word. She's a very calming influence through the whole family, so she became the go-to person for things that needed sorting. My understanding of Jessica as a very young child and growing up was that, what was it? Can I mention the little award you got at school?
You can mention anything you like, go on.
What was it called? Your trophy?
I Know Best.
Yes, Jessica got a trophy at school from her form master saying, "I know best. Jessica knows best," and we just believed it.
Well, I thought it, didn't I? I still do.
She thought it. She got this trophy, and we all sort of said, "Yeah, well, it must be true then." And Jessica actually probably does know best. So she sort of carried that banner through her life. And
but it turns out I don't. I don't know best.
Right, it does turn out that you don't. Let me say sort of just briefly. Let me just say briefly. I think that a peacemaker soul is that person who cannot help themselves. They have to keep the peace. They just need to keep the peace.
Yeah.
To the point where they make compromises. I mean, a peacemaker is a water sign, and water signs are those wonderful souls who they have a need and a drive to compromise. But what happens with water signs very often is that while you're trying to compromise and keep the peace with everyone, and you're encouraging everybody else to compromise, which works really well for everybody else, there is a tendency for the water sign to then actually compromise themselves. And I think that that's what you have been doing, and I think it's a habit. I think it's I think it's an addictive thing that you do, maybe on a subconscious level, but you feel the need to always make everybody else so happy that you're compromising your own self and your own happiness. So you're compromising, you're making other people happy at your expense. Would you?
I agree.
I do agree. And I want to have some faith in myself that I won't continue to do this.
Well, I think
while still being true to myself.
I think the first thing you have to do is to recognize what it is you're doing, and talking through this conversation. I think, you know, it's very, very obvious to me. I mean, of course, I'm psychic. No, I've also known you for years, but it's very, very obvious to me that what you're doing, what you do continually over and over again, and it is an habitual thing, is that you are quite prepared to sacrifice yourself. You're quite prepared to compromise your own self and your own feelings. You might be miserable, but, you know, as long as you can make somebody else happy, somehow it's okay. You can live with that. So you're compromising your own self and your own needs and your own wants. Yeah. So I think that when you become fully aware that you are doing this, that you are actually compromising yourself in your efforts to please everybody else, once you recognize that, then it's quite easy actually to recognize it as it's happening today, tomorrow, the next day. All of a sudden, once you realize that that's what you're doing, when you begin to do it, and you will do it again and again, you will with your family, you will with your friends, you will in your work, because it's you know, because it's an habitual thing.
Yeah.
When you
it's familiar, isn't it?
It's familiar. But I think that once you recognize what it is that you do, you'll see it, you'll feel it, you'll know it when you do it again. And at that point, that is when you make a choice. You make a choice to say, no, I'm not doing that. Or you make a choice to continue, and the pattern will continue on. So let's have a look at and see. Do you want to say any more about that, Al? I'm wanting to sort of get into some sort of a recipe for Jessica.
Yeah, I think Jessica has a really good. I think you have a really good awareness of what's going on and processing sort of what you do and understanding the why of you doing through this conversation and just thinking about it. So I would say the first ingredient, Rosemary, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Going to the recipe?
Yeah, I thought that's what I think is a daily awareness to look for those signs and just to understand when they're happening, to sort of alert yourself so that you can be.
We're going from the ingredient to the method.
Okay.
So let's deal first of all with the ingredients. And you girls are smart enough. Kay, I've trained you well, so you can definitely help here.
No pressure.
We've been we've been a good team for almost 40 years. So let's clear off that. She's a person I totally trust. I know she's ditzy a lot of the time, but I trust her implicitly. I'm saying this because I love you. Now, okay, so let's look at the recipe. We've talked about, you know, one of the ingredients should be self-awareness. Remember, this is about recognizing and being aware that you continually compromise yourself and your own happiness for the sake of other people. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. It just sounds rubbish, doesn't it?
What do you mean it sounds rubbish?
It's a really silly thing to do.
Well, it's not silly. You know, it's part of your makeup is to please other people. You can't help. You're a water sign. You're a compromiser. That's who you are. And on top of all of that, you're a peacemaker, which is, you know, sort of wow. You know, that's what you're doing. It's who you are. But you've gone overboard. You know, you've sort of, you know, over the years. because of the environment that you're in, and I know your sisters and I know your mother and I know how crazy your household can be, and you are the one who sits quietly, sits back and listens and pays attention, and then comes up with solutions and comes up with all sorts of great advice and wisdom, because you're able to calm everybody else and to give them, you know, to sort of say, oh well, let's make these compromises. And it's actually a good thing because it works really, really well, except, I'm going to say it again, with your family, with your relationships, with your work. Very often there is a tendency for you, not just because you're a water sign, but because of the things that happened, the fact that you went through a divorce, you felt, because you are that water sign, you felt a need to fix it, to fix things, to make people happy. So you sort of got into this, you know, you forgot about you. You totally forgot about you. You put everybody else in the equation. You want to fix this person. You want to fix this problem. You want to fix this, whatever it is. And as a nurse, when you get your qualification, which is in March, when you get all of that, you're going to have to understand there's a little word, and this is an ingredient. So self-awareness. Another big ingredient, the ability to say no.
You knew that, didn't you?
Well, yeah.
You said that before.
Right? It's a huge ingredient in this pot to making this cake or this pie or whatever it is you want to make. It's a huge ingredient because the one word I think that you probably have, or people in your situation, because we're not just talking about you, Jessica, because there are a lot of people out there, myself included, who have struggled with that word no, because we're so focused on the fixing it part, we're forgetting that before we can heal anybody else competently and, you know, and thoroughly, we have to heal ourselves. We have to look to ourselves. And that word no is probably the one word that you don't use when you should use it. Would you agree with that?
It is not an easy word to say.
It is for me.
I don't find it easy.
I find it really easy, but in certain circumstances it's hard.
Yeah.
When you're trying to fix someone, it's hard to say no. But when you try really hard to fix someone and you hear yourself wanting to say no again and again and again, you then have to learn, and this is another ingredient. So we've got self-awareness, awareness of what it is you're doing and why you're doing it. The ability to say no and mean it. That's the tough part. Anybody can say no. Meaning it is a whole other thing. As parents all over the world will know, when you say no to your kid, it's so easy to say, oh, all right then, but you take it further than that. So to say no and to mean it. But also, I think, you know, it's very, very important that you, a third ingredient has to be self-preservation.
Yeah, you have to put yourself first. Yeah.
Can you think of any other ingredients, Al? Okay, anything else that you want to add into that mix there? Or Jessica?
I'm just processing the first three.
I think on a smaller day-to-day level, Jessica needs to do the basics of mantras.
No, we're not doing that.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
That's the method.
Okay.
Let's look at the ingredients. Let's look at the things that she needs to put into the pot, and then we'll look at how
she needs to think about what will make her happy. She needs to look in herself and actually do things and think about things that make her feel good and happy. Small things, things that
I think I have started doing that more, especially this last year in my training. I've done better because I focused on it, and it's something that I'm proud of, and it's
just yours,
and it's for me.
Yeah.
So,
but that's in your work environment and not in your personal relationships. That's when your emotions, you know, the love angle, you know, the hopes, the dreams, the wishes. When Al was asking, what do you think when you go into a relationship? What is it? What are your goals? What are you hoping for? Well, you're hoping for marriage. You're hoping for children. You're hoping for a family. You're hoping for all of those things, right? And, you know, after the first year, so I'm going to put another ingredient in the pot, right? So we've got self-awareness of what it is that makes you do this. We've got the second ingredient, which I've forgotten. What was it?
No.
Say no.
Say no.
No. Learn to say no. I'm testing you here. The third ingredient?
Self-preservation.
Self-preservation. And so the fourth ingredient, what were we just talking about?
Find a happy place.
Do things that make me happy. No?
Al?
That's what I thought it was too.
Yeah. Today, do things that make me happy. Put me first.
Put you first. Not things that make you happy so much as
I put you first.
Okay.
Put you first. Now, in our training, and Kay will know this, and Al, of course, you know this as well. When we're training healers, when I'm training healers, how much do I encourage my healers to be selfish? To be selfish with themselves and to put themselves first.
Yes.
Right?
If you can't sort yourself out, you've no chance of sorting anybody else out.
Right. Now, I'm not talking about encouraging people to be selfish to the point where you walk all over everybody else. But you have to have one of those ingredients in your pot has to be self. You can call it selfishness if you like. You have to be selfish with yourself. And I'm going to put a fifth ingredient into the pot. Give yourself a time limit.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's your discipline.
In any relationship, it's difficult with family because we have to deal with them, you know, and you can never get rid of them. They're like that gum on your shoe. No matter where you go, you know, they stick to you.
Lovely.
But in relationships, within a relationship between a man or a woman, or a man and a man, or a girl and a girl, whatever it is, in those love relationships, give yourself a time limit. And if in 6 months it's as bad, well, it's gotten worse, it's deteriorated, you have to have a cut-off point. So let's look at these ingredients that we have and how do we deal with them? How do we mix the pot? Al, do you have any suggestions of how we mix all of those ingredients together?
Nope, I'll let you take that.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to suggest, but Kay, I want you to come in here as well because you should know these things as well. It's hard when it's your own child, but certainly, you know, that the bit about being self-aware, certainly we could use a mantra. So saying a mantra every day, the mantra could include, I will be selfish with myself. You're not being selfish to the point of upsetting or destroying anyone else. But what we mean when we say we're going to be selfish with ourselves, it means once we learn to be selfish with ourselves, to protect ourselves, to care about ourselves, that word no comes so much easier.
It's good. Right? It's great when you find it.
Yeah. So, you know, if you can just every day you say your mantra, and you can make a list of the things that you want in your life, or the list of the things that you want in a relationship. This is not closing you off. You know, a lot of people close off to relationships because they want to protect themselves, because they don't want to happen what happened before. This is actually opening you up, but it's showing you where you are. Let's say, I don't want to really use the word weak, because I don't think it's weakness, but I do think, you know, once you're self-aware of what you do, you can be stronger and you can be more determined in learning to say no, learning to be selfish with yourself. For instance, if you are in a relationship with someone and they always want to go to the football game on a Saturday and you would rather do something else, I mean, it should be, sometimes it's something that he wants to do, but sometimes it should be something that you want to do. It shouldn't be, let's do everything he does or let's do everything she does. There has to be a balance in a relationship. So always try to maintain, as you're going through a relationship, try to maintain a balance. It is not about making him happy. It's about making the relationship a good and a positive one. Learning to communicate with each other, but just being aware and being able to say your mantra. If something happens that I don't like, I have to say so. In the beginning, nipping it in the bud. Nipping it in the bud. Because, you know, whether the relationship is with someone who is an alcoholic or a drug addict, or just simply someone who has really awful behavior patterns. It does, you know, they don't necessarily have to be necessarily awful people, but they have awful behavioral patterns. If you continue to say, you know, this is right for me, but actually this isn't right for me. If there's more isn't right, have a cutoff point, 6 months or no more than a year. Because let me tell you, if that behavior is continued for longer than a year, it's not going to change. And all you're doing is just, you know, enabling. Then you become the enabler. And every time you say no, and then you say, oh, all right, then just this. And every time you say no, and he comes knocking on the door and says, please forgive me, and I do love you. Yeah. And then he carries on doing the same thing again. I'm talking like this as a man. Women do this. The women have lousy behavior as well. I'm not, you know, knocking the male sex here. I'll just, so as you know, I mean, you know, it's, you know, something that men and women do. But if, you know, if after 6 months you're doing this, here is the truth. You're not compatible. So be aware. Give yourself a time limit. And don't extend the time limit, no matter how much you think you love someone. And Jessica and I'm not going to talk too much about the conversations that Jessica and I have had in the past over this situation a little bit. But it's so easy to think you're in love with someone. But actually, I think so many of us, we become so enamored with the idea of love, with the idea of family, with that it's just out of reach, but I know I'll get there, that you waste a lot of time trying to make something work when a good relationship is not something that you have to try to make work. It's something, especially in the beginning. Now, relationships are hard work. Marriages are hard work. We have to make compromises, and you're good at that. But whenever you feel that you're making a compromise to your own detriment, or you're making a compromise that everybody else is happy, but wait a minute, am I happy? So you've got to ask that question of yourself. Wait a minute, am I happy with this situation? And don't fool yourself. Don't say yes because you want it to be yes. Only say, yes, I'm happy with it if you feel inside. So you've got to trust your instincts. You've got to learn to trust your instincts to know when it's time to quit. And this is what will happen if you learn to do this. It's we're going to come back to energy. It's all about energy. It's all about we go out there, every one of us as a human being, we have a certain kind of energy, and that energy attracts other energy to us. Now, those people who are particularly needy but have no intention of changing because they're really happy the way they are, it's almost like they've got this antenna. You know, they know the people, they hone into the people who they know they can manipulate, and they know that they can use and abuse. I think we had this conversation with another of our guests a few weeks ago. I'm thinking of Paul, Al, when, you know, we were talking about how those people, there are people who prey on other people. But if you can learn to say no, what happens is you actually change your energy. If you can learn to be discerning when you're compromising, hang on a minute, it's with your sisters, your family, your work, whatever it is here. If you can be discerning when you are making those compromises, and again, we're mixing all these ingredients into the bowl and looking, does this make me happy? Am I happy with this? Is this working for me? If you can step back and look at it as you would look at a patient, as you would look at somebody else that you're trying to help, but instead of looking at everybody else, you look at look at, you know, what you're thinking and feeling, that your energy will change. And those people who would ordinarily see you as, you know, an easy manipulator because you are a misfix-it, as am I. It's not a, you know, I'm not criticizing you for that. I'm a misfix-it too. But when you start to make yourself stronger, you make yourself more of who you are, not less of who you are. And I think that's your fear, isn't it? Becoming less of who you are. But once you start to say no, and you start to be discerning, and you put a time limit, right? If you're doing this with someone, don't do it. Please don't do it. Move on. Because that way you give yourself more of an opportunity to find that person who is right for you, rather than wasting all that time and energy on someone who is simply just taking you for granted and using you. So be discerning. Put a time limit on it. Learn to say no. Be self-aware. Use a mantra to encourage all of that. Your mum knows all about mantras, so you know you can find a mantra that works for you, and you know, learn to just appreciate yourself. This is time for Jessica now. It's time for you. And for all of those people out there who are listening and do relate to Jessica, because I know there are so many people out there relating to this story. I relate. I mean, I know Kay relates. We both know the other one relates because we have no secrets between us. You know, it's really important for all of us to understand we do own our own power. And when we allow people to manipulate us and we allow people to use us, what we're actually doing is we're giving our power away. Here you go. And when we give our power away, it makes us less of who we want to be, not more of who we want to be.
Can I say then, Rosemary?
You can say anything you like.
That being so, once that energy changes and she feels different, then the people around her will change and she will start drawing people towards her that she will want to be with.
Yes.
I don't necessarily mean at work, but it all slots into place, doesn't it?
Yeah, in every aspect of your life, when you change and you make these subtle changes and you become aware that that this is an habitual behavioral pattern caused or compounded by the divorce, trying to get, I mean, and if anybody out there knows your family, it can be rather crazy. I mean, you've got four women in a room. you still you've got 4 women in a room, and very different personalities, but 3 vying for me, hey, and then you've got
I'm getting better.
And then you've got Jessica, who, that was not a criticism, it's just, you know,
No,
who
I
you
know,
are. And then you've got Jessica, who is the one who sits back and listens and then tries to fix things.
Yeah.
And you can't
Always
be a
talks.
Miss Fix It. It doesn't
Always
work.
talks.
The only person you can fix
Yes.
is who?
Me.
You. Al, what do you say to all of this?
I would actually like to hear from Jessica to see if this would make sense for you, like on a daily basis, because you're going to be doing this every day, and you're going to be looking at situations, and I think you understand what needs to be fixed a lot, which is really to your benefit, because if you understand that, I think you could go through this and do this recipe pretty easily, because that's a really tough part to do, to recognize when you say, I could fix that, right?
Yeah.
So does it make sense to you if you go tomorrow and you seem like you meet someone that you're attracted to, or you might want to pursue a relationship? Does the recipe make sense to you, and do you think you could apply it, with a mantra and all those things?
It does make sense to me. For the last couple of months, I've reflected a lot, and I spend quite a bit of time alone. I think about what I've gone through a lot and what I've put myself through, and what we've talked about here, this list, these 5 ingredients to our recipe, it all makes sense. It all fits in place to me. I've thought myself about, why did I let things go on for so long? Why did I keep repeating the same cycle so many times? And these are things that I've thought to myself but haven't explored. So it really helps to talk it through and to get other people's opinions, and to know that, yeah, that's right, that's the way to go. Because I haven't thought of all of these things, but definitely the time limit, because I have thought about what I would change in the future, and the time limit is something, it's an obvious thing, isn't it? But it will be a hard thing to do, but I know it's the right thing to do. So,
but that sort of thing comes when you're more self-aware, doesn't it? You think about things like that.
Sorry, Kay, go ahead.
No, you're okay, go on.
Well, I was going to say that, the definition of
Insanity.
Thank you. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Yes.
Right? We've all done it, but imagine the man in your life is a cake as opposed to a man. Let's imagine that he's a cake. Let's imagine that he's you want him to be a chocolate cake, but actually he's a seed cake. I mean, you keep trying to make that chocolate cake into a delicious chocolate cake, but your ingredients are for a seed cake. What is going to happen? I mean, if you're in a kitchen and you're trying to make a chocolate cake, you can't possibly use the ingredients to make seed cake. I mean, to keep trying to make a seed cake into a chocolate cake is utter waste of time and energy, and is the definition of insanity. You're expecting different results every time, and you're not going to get them. When you look at the person in your life, this is something else that you can do. Assess his ingredients. You are loving, kind, gentle, giving, compromising way too much, and so on. Is that person a loving, kind person, or is that person a manipulator? Is that person, a sleazy little man? Is that person a liar? Is that person cheat? Because let me tell you, that ain't going to make a chocolate cake. Right?
Yeah.
And, I remember having this conversation with my daughter years ago, and she was in in a particular relationship, and I kept saying to her, you're never going to be happy in this relationship because you want a chocolate cake and what you're getting is a coffee cake. There's nothing wrong with a coffee cake. It's just not what you want. It's not what is going to satisfy you. It's not what is going to fulfill you. So when you're in a relationship, you know, when you go into a relationship, come on, be honest with yourself. Step back and say, well, I know who I am, you know, and pay attention. Over a period of 6 months, it will come out. If he's a kind and a loving, a gentle person and selfless, or certainly willing to compromise with you on the things that you do, then you won't even be thinking about that 6 months because it will simply be working.
This is what I've been thinking. Hopefully it will happen and that I will have fixed myself.
Yes.
And I will find a relationship where I don't even need to think about these things because it will be the right...
You'll simply know what you do want.
Yeah.
And you'll know what you don't want.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for us to realise what we don't want. And if we see signs of that early on, as hard as it is, because we're all needy, we all want that love. We all of us want to find that special someone, you know, that's for us. So when we, you know, so it's so easy to compromise and say, well, it was only one time that he shouted at me. Well, it was only one time that she was mean to me. Well, it's only that, you know, or he's had a really hard day, or she's going through a really difficult time. No matter what your excuse, there is no excuse for meanness and bad behavior and someone to try to manipulate you.
Rosemary, I would like to add to, you know, it's about these things that happen and that either are the wrong thing, whether it's meanness or habits that are really bad. You said to set a time limit, but I think it's also important to just on a day-to-day basis notice how many times it happens, how often it happens, what's the frequency of it? Is it happening every day? Because there's growth too. There's growth possibilities in relationship, and you don't want to just dismiss it because a partner can grow with you. But if they're doing something, if they're being mean to you a couple times a day, those are things that I think need to be triggered, Jess, by you, especially because you really understand and can recognize those factors. And
be so tolerant.
Right, but say don't be so tolerant and don't dismiss that it's happening on a daily basis, right? This happened yesterday.
I agree. I just want to make it clear because I'm hoping I didn't say the 6 months if it's not a perfect relationship, cut it off. I'm not saying that at all because no relationship is perfect. What I'm saying is if it is continually bad, or you are continually disappointed, or you're continually in despair, or at least once or twice a week you're in despair, or you're crying, or he says he's going to change, or she says she's going to change, and it doesn't work, pack it in. Give it up. Don't prolong it. You know, don't make yourself miserable for the next 7 years doing what you've been doing, is what I'm saying. Do you have any last, I don't mean last words, I make it sound like it's like, do you have anything else that you'd like to add, either Kay or Jess? Because time is, we're running out of time.
I think it's been very good and healthy just, well, for me to listen to Jess and for me to say some things, but more for me to see how she's worked through it herself these past few months and come to conclusions in her own way through her own soul searching and through some help, obviously through you and through myself and her sisters and even her father in his own way as well. You know, it's sort of been a group effort and it's been good because she's had it stacked with all the work as well. You know,
Jess, do you want to say anything? I
want to say thank you. This has been really good, really helpful. I'm going to work on my ingredients and work on a mantra, and I'll be doing this every day. Thank you, guys.
Well, that's great. Al, do you want to do we have any comments before we go? Any?
We do have a few comments. Paul chimed in a few times. Sharon said some of the things we were saying. Sounds like you are projecting your own feelings onto your partner instead of accepting as they are. Women are nurturers. A nurturer, perhaps, you subconsciously look for people who are flawed and think you could heal them. Paul had a few comments. I wonder if there's an unconscious attraction to flawed men to somehow fix the past. A lot of what we discussed, and he said he's a peacemaker, and we are very similar. He's a peacemaker too, and we are very similar. We compared it to some of the things that Paul talked to us about as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, I'd like to say thank you both. Kay, thank you, darling, for coming on.
Well, thank you.
Yes, I really appreciate it. It's not easy to bare your soul to everyone, but I think people are going to listen and find it very inspiring. And I think they're going to find you very inspiring too, because I have to say to everybody out there, she's a beautiful child.
Gorgeous.
She's a lovely girl. Al, thank you. I'm saying thank you to my co-host. If you want to know more about Al, go to Al at alpisano.com.
Correct.
Pisano. And if you would like to know more about our show, if you'd like to be on the show, if you'd like to make comments about the show, you can find us at info at everythingisattitude.com. Al is going to put it up there. There it is. Or you can email me, Rosemary at rosemaryantaltea.com. We shall be here on next Thursday with our live YouTube show. Actually, it won't be Thursday this week. It'll actually be Wednesday because it's Thanksgiving next Thursday here in the States. So we'll be doing that on Wednesday instead of Thursday. But we will be here next Friday night with a guest or without. We're not sure yet, but I think probably with. We'll see. So, and is there anything else I need to say? I think we're good. So,
thank you.
Pardon?
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. So in the meantime, until I see you all again, you know what I'm going to say. Those of you who are avid or watchers, please, all of you have a very, very, very blessed day.
Bye, Al.
Bye, Al.